By participating in the Gardens for Wildlife program, you have an opportunity to be part of the bigger picture. If you're working with your neighbours on a wildlife garden, this provides a neighbourhood corridor for wildlife to travel. It also allows you to connect to your neighbours in another way, providing a social connection and social network as well as that habitat network. By putting even just a small grass in your garden, that allows a refuge, an island or a stepping stone for insects, butterflies and other pollinators. And finally, by removing environmental weeds from your garden, this is supporting local bushland reserves and local habitat for wildlife to thrive.
I joined the Garden for Wildlife program because when I was living in another town, I used to love watching the flock of lorikeets foraging on my gardens. And then one day I discovered that the tree they forage has been chopped down. I was really sad not being able to see them anymore. That anger and sadness sort of spurred me into do something for them. Eventually that led me to Knox City Council Garden for Wildlife program.
So a garden visit is really a wonderful way to make new friends, to share gardening experiences, tips and challenges, to get introduced to the wildlife in the garden and around the neighbourhood and beyond, and really to learn together how we can foster the locally native plants and animals in our neighbourhood.
Bear in mind that you don't have to be a gardening guru. Come along here and you want to help. Gee, people appreciate that. You know, they really do appreciate that if you want to help. If you can get and recommend some plants they can have some real success with, well, they're going to come back to it. They're going to find that Indigenous nursery and they're going to come back.
Quite a few people that we have involved in the project don't have a garden that's as established as this. So I'm just wondering, like, what would you like us to focus on and help you with today?
Yeah, I think one of the issues...
It looked like a very helpful sort of a program that could give us feedback on how we were doing. And that's exactly what it proved to be. Had two lovely ladies come out and visit, and I just spent one of the best hours of the year in their company, because my general cohort doesn't include people who are passionate about wildlife gardens, passionate about other things, but not about gardening. And I have to say they were very non-judgmental. I didn't have to be providing a standout garden. They coped with the things in my garden that were non-native. They were gentle in their advice about keeping the bird baths clean and the pest things that we might want to consider removing, or the plants that we might like to consider replacing with native alternatives.
I have to grow 3 or 4 layers, the ground layers, the shrubby layers, and the middle story and the higher story. So from 4 gum trees, I ended up having 35. Now it's 75 gum trees and thousands of grasses and shrubs. And it's working because the birds, these little birds are coming, and it's really given me a really joy. Every time I go to his garden, I spend hours and hours sitting just watching. So it really make me really happy throughout that process.
Approach your garden doing it in good, small, viable chunks that you feel like you could succeed in a project and actually see some benefit from it before you move on. And often when we're looking at a great big expansive garden, that is a really rewarding way and to keep your enthusiasm going in the long term. Achieve a little at a time, and that's a great way to approach gardening for wildlife.
And I have to say we're seeing the benefits of the way that we garden to encourage those smaller birds in, and they're a delight, along with the lizards and the odd frog who finds refuge in the thickets somewhere. So hoping to give back in that way of maybe just raising neighbourhood consciousness like somebody raised our consciousness a long time ago. I can't speak highly enough of the fact that they, as volunteers, give their time to that program, and I'm very grateful to the program and all of the people.
If anyone who like to do gardens, if you have something for a garden, do Garden for Wildlife, because wildlife will give you back a lot of joy and a lot of happiness, and you will see your garden a lot better than in just a normal garden.